Okay, so I just wanted to hop on here and talk about how we met and our business relationship because I feel like we're just so casually out here doing it. But like so many people will be like, wow, really? You know, like you had something I needed for the mortgage process. I had something you needed. And then we just like conjoined and
Right.
it's been like amazing ever since. So I'll let you start off and introduce yourself and how we know each other and stuff like that.
Okay, sure. I'm Galila. Also, everybody calls me Lila, so that works too. Currently living in Brooklyn, so having met you where I met you. So I guess to back up a little bit, like we met in Jersey
Right.
at our summer program at Princeton, which is like super dope. Your mom led it. And it was just like a
Like
really
16, right? Like when we were 16.
was it was like 16, 17. Yeah, like it was going into senior year because I remember we did our like college essays. Like I forgot even what they're called. Like we definitely did those. Which is like super cool. And it was like such a great experience that I feel like a lot of people like don't get the opportunity to have, but now like being that this program at the Well is like actually like propelling and excelling and like being able to be more like accessible to a lot more like women of color, like it's definitely something that a lot of people should be like looking into because I met like lifelong friends like you also turned into business partners. So
Yes.
yeah, so like what it was like, was it like a 2-week program at Princeton and
Yeah.
do a bunch of like different college, I guess, pre or getting us ready for college or like what's after high school.
Right.
And then after that ended, and we were like, wait, you're really cool. Like, I'm really cool. Let's just continue being friends. I think we saw each other maybe like once or twice after, once again
Mm-hmm.
after that.
Mm-hmm.
The second time being like when we actually like got a bank account together to do this, which is like crazy.
Yeah, how crazy is that? You're just such an amazing human being. And I was just like, if I could trust anybody or go into business, anybody, it would be Leela. And you were already looking for a place and
Right.
were approved.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, let me see if she'd want to work with me. Like, I didn't know.
It was like such a fast process because like you were like, oh, I know you're looking for a place. Like, I'm also trying to get into this duplex. Like, let's see if we can make this work. And it just felt like a whirlwind. You were backpacking, weren't you? Like
Yeah, I was traveling. I was just like
yeah.
random. I was like, oh man, I want to get a mortgage, but they wanted 2 years of tax returns for my business, and I'd only been in business for a year. And I was like, oh no. And then you had told me you were like wanting me to help you find a place. And I was like, well, what if we find a place together? Like, you know, you have this employment record where like basically the mortgage wouldn't approve me because I needed more of an employment record and you had the employment record and I needed somewhere to stash my cash. And so, and we both had good credit, you know, and so we were both just like,
That's a big key into getting this spot. Yeah.
right.
That's why the process just seems so seamless. And well, one, because like I think we're just like super casual and we work well together and it's just like, oh, this is happening, like let's just be on the same page, a quick call or a text message. But then also it's like we had good credit, like you had the down payment, I had the like the tax returns or whatever. So is that sorry.
No worries.
New York, what are you gonna do? Yeah, so like everything just seemed like it just fell into place. And what it was like a 2 or 3 week turnaround. It was like something crazy. I just like
Right.
it was like one day I wasn't a homeowner and the next we were. So
Yes. And then it was just trust, I think. You know what I mean? I think because we knew each other for so long, like I knew that you weren't gonna screw me over. You knew that I wasn't gonna screw you over. Like we were both just trying to make money. I was just like, Leela, if we put our money here, if we invest in this, like we can make 1,000 a month. And then for like, you know, and then the equity, I was like trying to convince you, like for like 10 minutes, you were like, yes, yes. Yes.
I know, yeah, for sure. Because I would say with any type of big purchase, there's always like some type of hesitancy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're telling me like, oh, like take a mortgage out, like we have to take a mortgage out for like 100K, and I'm like, oh man, like that seems like a lot of money. But like the way you laid it out, it's like, all right, you'll get this X amount of equity, we'll have this property for how many years, and then we'll always get like passive income. And I think that's what's most important. It's like, all right, extra pocket money that like you could do whatever with, whether it's like putting it towards another property or just like, hey, you have a trip coming up and you need an extra couple $100, like
Yeah.
It's definitely been like a great thing so far. So like, and I expect it to be nothing less than that.
So you're a landlord. Like, how does it feel? Like,
Right.
so from when you were nervous about it to like, as you were going through the closing process to now, like, to explain that to everybody.
Yeah. So I think I first want to like preface this by saying that I think location kind of matters a lot. And I think because we are both Black women, being able to own this property in like a predominantly Black space kind of holds power. And it's like having tenants that are able to get accessible and affordable housing from you, and like being able to work with them on like a small like investor basis is like super important, I think, for us as a community, and just like for them as well. You know, it's not like this big bank or whatever that's gonna like kick them out to like make 10-20x rent. It's like, all right, like this is what's going for market, let's be competitive with it, but then also let's be reasonable, let's be humans. I would say being a landlord, for me, this experience has been like far easier than whatever I would expect. And I would assume with my second property, it'd be a little bit more, just because you're literally living like right there. So a lot of things, it's like you're able to take care of, and I'm like forever indebted to you for that, because it's like you're just like hitting me up. You're like, hey, I just took care of this. Like, it'll come from our bank account. Like, here's a receipt. And I'm like, wow, this is like, yeah, like, thank you. Like,
but I'm not gonna have you come from Brooklyn and be like, let's fix this together. Like, no, we have a list of contractors that we use for specific things: an electrician, HVAC, plumbing, and then when something goes wrong, I just like make that text. They go over there, they schedule the tenants, and it's out of my hands, and then they give me a receipt.
I honestly love it. Like, it seemed like a great process. I think moving forward, what is this? This is year 2, or what are we on? We got it in 2019, right? So
yes, this is year 2.5, I think.
Half, yeah. So far, like so good. Like, it's great. Obviously there are things to improve. I think one of the things is just like being more, I guess process is just being more streamlined. So I would say like making sure like we have a Section 8 tenant, and I think that is like super great because it's guaranteed money from the government. Like, you never have to like seek out and be like, oh, like you owe me money and you're back like 3 months. Mm-hmm. But one con of that, at least that we're experiencing right now, is just like those are physical checks. So it's like, all right, getting that streamlined and making it like auto pay or like auto deposit. So it's like we never have to like try to hunt down this check or like hit up HUD for it or anything like that. It's just like right into our bank account on a monthly basis. So that's something that I will be working towards, like making sure it's streamlined. It's a bit government. It's a bit harder sometimes, but it's definitely worthwhile once you do get it set up.
Yeah, especially during the pandemic when people didn't have to pay for a year. Even if like if like both of our tenants didn't pay, it's like at least we're getting that government check to cover that mortgage.
Right.
And we're not hurting. So like, even though she's paying a little bit less than market rent, because for one unit, you know, we're getting $1,250 or $1,300 or something, and then she's paying $950, which is a big difference, you know. But it's just that every month, like no matter what, our mortgage is covered. It feels like secure, at least for me.
It's definitely like a weight lifted, because like you were saying with the pandemic, people didn't have to pay, and then it's just like, well, that would come from and like, I know you have a mortgage yourself, like I have rent to pay, so it's just like, oh, like our hands would be tied. And granted, we do have like a little base in our account, but that's not going to cover X amount of months of rent. But I would say like definitely a pro of like being able to have like government assistance. Some people would call that a con, like having Section 8, just because it like you never know the tenants. But I would say like with any type of tenant, you're always going to have to screen like properly and make sure that, you know, who you are signing this contract with is like somebody that you could rely on, at least in terms of like rent, taking care of the property, etc.
Right. So what would you say your goals are as far as being a landlord in the future? Would you want to buy more? You know, what are you looking to do?
Nice question, because I definitely hit you up about that last week.
You did. I'm like, yeah, she loves it.
Yes, definitely looking to buy another one this year, actually. A duplex, close to where our current one is, but I'm looking more so in Pennsylvania, so in Philly. But I think it's just a great way to, one, like I was saying earlier, be able to be that person in the community that's like providing like actual livable conditions at like market rate and not just like trying to scam people. And then also being able to have property. Like, one thing that you can never make more of is land. So it's just like, get it while you can, because like the value of land is always going to go up. And it's just like, what do you have for yourself? What assets are you able to call your own and like later on pay off and like provide to your family and your children, et cetera, if you want kids. So that's like that's the big scope of it for me. I don't think I'm going to be like 100 deep in like property wise, but like a couple, I'd say, just to make sure that like I have options, I have things just in my portfolio, in my little house.
So how do you like, so you're looking at like creating it as a second stream of income supplemental to your job. So how, like, what are your goals with that? Like, how much, you know, would you like to have as like a cushion?
Yeah, I haven't quite decided how much of a supplemental kind of thing I'd want it to be at the moment. Definitely, I don't think it will ever like replace my current 9-to-5. And if it ever does, it's just like something that happened. It wasn't like necessarily like that's the goal, like replace my 9-to-5 right now. But it is nice to just have like that extra cash on hand, whether I want to use it to invest in like stocks, which I'm currently like dealing with. Like I just try to like broaden how much extra money that I have, just because you never know when you'll need that rainy day fund. You'll never know when, you know, you never know.
We needed it for something, right? Like we had stacked up, like we didn't collect rent for the first 3 or 4 months because we wanted to have cash in our bank account.
Right.
And we used our rainy day for something.
It was, I think it was the HVAC, right? I think.
Yeah, we got a whole new heating and air conditioning unit for our Section 8 tenant, by the way.
So we are not slumlords. I just want to let you know that's what we do right by people, because at the end of the day, everybody needs to live comfortably. And if like new AC, then yes, like let's do it. We save money for those kind of things. You need a rainy day fund, like you save the money to be able to give back or improve your property at the end of the day. Like we're not going to have this tenant for like the rest of forever. So it's just like, it improves the value over time. So it's definitely.
And I want people to know, like, so not only did we make, I think we were making somewhat of like 800 to 950 a month in revenue for the past 2.5 years, but the equity, like we got it for 140. I believe it's worth 180 to 200 now. So it's like every year we've increased like 15, 17,000 in equity in our home, and which we can always refinance, pull out and put in our pockets, or just continue to grow our wealth. So it's like a really nice vehicle to hold your cash and to just watch it grow, you know, and I love it. I love being partnered with you. Like you're just so easy to work with. And like, I'm just so excited to see where you go with this.
Yeah, definitely. I think like I look up to you when it comes to like, definitely, especially real estate. One, business mind acumen in general, but like especially like real estate, just because you know what you're doing, you're always like on top of it, either when it's your flips and your different strategies behind that. So I'm just like, all right, I'm not gonna mirror Nicole like 100%, but like if I could take a quarter of that and like just like follow the things that she's doing, or like see if like she can help out with certain things, like that would set me up in the right.
If you ever need anything, like any help, recommendations, like that's the thing, you're going to be investing in Philly, which I believe is, it's 25, 30 minutes away from our property. So like, that's the thing about partnerships and building strong friendships and relationships, because I can be like, oh, hey, Leela, do you need the number to the HVAC, the plumber, the electrician? Like, what is going on with your property? Do you need help? You know what I mean? And what industry are you in, by the way, right now?
Yeah, currently in advertising. So
you know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, Leela, I might need some help marketing this here. And you would be there for me, you know? And
sure.
A big
analytics and everything.
and that's what this episode's all about, is like relationships building. Like we knew each other from that one program that your parents put your in when you're 16, is now generating a relationship that's mutually beneficial. And I just respect you so much as a person. It's like, it's insane.
Yeah, definitely. There were many pros of that program, but this is definitely just one of them. It's just like being able to have this friendship, and then the friendship also turned into like a business relationship, and you being my business partner on one of these ventures. So it's definitely been fulfilling, worthwhile. I love it.
Yes. Well, I miss you, and I definitely have to catch up with you soon whenever I'm in New York. Now that I know you're in Brooklyn.
Yep, right along in Brooklyn. And you know, when you're moving to Philly, I will be
You're gonna come over. Please
slide on over.
Yes, Leela, thank you so much for coming and taking the time to talk on my YouTube right now. I'm really excited. I think people are gonna love this content because it's just like two young black women who are like, hey, let's get a property together. And it's working out beautifully because we have mutual respect for each other, because we trust each other, and because we just have a general like love and like, you know, essence of just trying to do better for ourselves, you know, and we're not trying to slight each other. We're not trying to get over. It's just like, how do we do better? How do we make this money? And like, what do you have that I need? What do I have that you need? And
right.
It's just
a two-way street, a relationship, and just wanting better for each other. So I think that those are the keys that any successful business relationship needs.
Yes, and thank you. I'm going to stop the recording, but if anybody has any questions for Leela or for me, they can ask it in the comment section. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.